another UFC predictions video as we have UFC 276 right around the corner on Saturday, July 2nd. Just going to give my predictions for the main card. Keep in mind, card subject to change. And as it stands right now, the main card, I will be reacting to all 5 fights that are on the main card. So come back to the channel that weekend a little bit afterwards for reactions to each of those fights. Of course, if you're a UFC fan and you like UFC prediction videos, make sure you smash that like button. Share the video with whomever you want or put it on any of your social media platforms. Sound off in the comment section about what your predictions are, future predictions, or fights that you want to see. And of course, you're watching the videos anyway, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, join the team, show your support, and be a part of something special. And looking at this card from top to bottom, it's actually a pretty solid card. You have a fight on the early prelims between Bobby Green and Jim Miller. Should be an exciting fight. Also fighting on the early prelims, Uriah Hall and Duplessis, who I happen to really like, although not a lot of people have heard of him, but he's certainly someone to keep an eye on. I guess I don't really like him, but he's somebody I'm keeping my eye on. They're not necessarily fighting each other, but they're just fighting. But the Jim Miller versus Bobby Green fight is confirmed, although of course card subject to change. And then on the ESPN televised prelims, you have a fight between Macy Barber and Jessica Ai. Should be a fun fight. You also have the new Irish sensation fighting in Ian Gary, and you also have ruthless Robbie Lawler fighting on the early or the actual televised prelims. So those should be some prelims to certainly watch. I don't always watch the prelims, but I think I'm going to have to watch every single fight on this card. And now we're on to the main card, my predictions for all 5 fights. And remember, as it stands right now, I will be reacting to all 5 fights. I'll at least post one the night of the fight, potentially, and then I'll try to do 1 or 2 per day after that, depending on how it goes. Maybe all 5 of them, I don't know. I don't have a lot of time to sit here and upload, 5 uploads a night, but certainly 1 or 2 the first night, the Saturday night, and then we'll see where we go from there. So come back to the channel around July 2nd, July 3rd for these reactions. But in the bantamweight division, we have Pedro Munoz versus Sean O'Malley. In this fight, I'm going to go with Sean O'Malley. I think Pedro Munoz is an excellent fighter, and he's highly entertaining. And this could be the fight of the night. But I just think Sean O'Malley has such a big height advantage and such a long reach advantage that I think he's really going to utilize that to make it so Munoz can't really get him, because he's going to be striking and moving, and it's really going to wear Munoz down. I know there's a lot of Pedro Munoz fans out there. He looked good in his fight. It's been a while, but not a while since he's looked good. But I remember his fight against Cody Garbrandt, which was a crazy fight. So Munoz can certainly bring it, but I just think Sean O'Malley is going to win and position himself closer to a potential title shot down the road of the UFC Bantamweight Championship. Next up in the women's flyweight division, we have Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate, who's going down from bantamweight to flyweight. I don't think Lauren Murphy is that good, even though Valentina Shevchenko had said that she could see herself having a rematch against Lauren Murphy. I think, my opinion, Miesha Tate is going to win this fight because she's got the grappling advantage. I think she has the submission advantage, and I think she certainly can do the wrestling better. Murphy may have the striking advantage, but Miesha Tate can strike. She just likes to use her other weapons more. But I think Miesha Tate is going to win this fight and potentially set herself up for a title shot against Valentina Shevchenko. I guess it kind of depends on how fast Talia Santos can recover from her eye injury. But I could certainly see the winner of this fight, especially if it's Miesha Tate, getting a fight against Shevchenko. And honestly, I would probably pick Miesha Tate to win that fight. As crazy as it sounds, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't predict fights that aren't even scheduled to fight or scheduled to happen yet. But that would just be where I'm going. So I'm going to go with Miesha Tate for that one. Next up in the middleweight division, we have Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. I think that's how you say it. It might be different, but I've just heard different variations of Pereira's name. Of course, this is the guy that's beaten Israel Adesanya twice in kickboxing. Once by KO, once by decision that was controversial. I don't think Sean Strickland has really beat anybody that good, that elite, and I think Alex Pereira is going to win this fight. He's going to catch him with some crazy knee, possibly, which he did in his UFC debut, or something, or win by, outpointing Sean Strickland. Now, initially, I was going to go with Sean Strickland, but I don't know, something just looking at the people that he's fought, I'm not, the fights that I've seen him fight, I haven't been all that impressed with Strickland yet. Of course, if he wins the fight, it's going to totally change my mindset on that. But at the moment, I'm going with Alex Pereira, possibly by TKO, just a hunch. And in the co-main event of the evening for the UFC Featherweight Championship of the World, we have the trilogy fight between Alexander Volkanovsky versus Max Holloway. Now, initially when they fought, I actually predicted Volkanovsky to win, and he did win and win the title from Max Holloway. Then I predicted Holloway to beat Volkanovsky in the rematch, and I thought Holloway won that rematch. Of course, I only watched the fight once. I haven't went back and watched it again yet. Volkanovski's looked really good, even in a fight that it wasn't necessarily close, but moments where he was in grave danger against like a Brian Ortega, he persevered and came out looking even better. And he's slowly but surely moving up the ranks of best pound for pound, in my opinion. So in this fight, I think Alexander Volkanovsky will win the fight. And if he does beat Max Holloway, I think he should fight for the UFC lightweight championship, just because, I mean, he's a GOAT. I don't necessarily want to hold up the division, but if he beats Holloway again for the third time, I think it might be time for him to move up, at least for one time, to see if he can become a champ. So I'm predicting Volkanovsky. I kind of hope Holloway wins, though, because I obviously really like Max Holloway. He's a fun fighter. He's never been KO'd. That would be the way I'd want Volkanovsky to beat him, by KO. That would be crazy. I mean, Poirier led it on Holloway but didn't KO him, so I don't know. He's going to have to come up with a new weapon to beat Volkanovsky, I think. Do something different that he's done. Just a hunch, and I hope Holloway wins, but I'm going to go with Volkanovsky because he's looked so good as of late. And then in the main event of the evening for International Fight Week at UFC 276, we have the challenger, Jared Cannonier, versus the reigning, defending UFC undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Israel Adesanya, the last stylebender. I know some people that are firm on the fact that they think Jared Cannonier is going to win this fight. I haven't been overly impressed with anything Jared Cannonier has done, except for his last fight against Derek Brunson. That was pretty good. This is a guy that used to fight at heavyweight. But I just think Adesanya can outpoint him and do different things to Cannonier, and he's going to have trouble getting to Adesanya. It's just a hunch, but I cannot pick against Israel Adesanya in this particular fight. Anything can happen, and probably will. I'm not always great on my predictions, but I do think Israel Adesanya is going to win this fight and retain the UFC middleweight championship of the world. And if Alex Pereira beats Sean Strickland, that would set up an MMA fight between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, which will have the whole world talking, because that's the guy that's beaten Adesanya twice, once by KO and once by a controversial decision. So that would be my predictions for this card. Of course, keep in mind, card subject to change. I'll be back shortly in a couple weeks with my predictions for UFC 277, as that's taking place on July 30th. Of course, the main event for that one is going to be the rematch between Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena for the Bantamweight Championship of the World. And the co-main event is an interim title fight between Kai Kara France versus, I'm forgetting who, Brandon Moreno for the flyweight championship. So that should be a good one. But again, like I mentioned before, if you're a fan of the UFC and like predictions videos, or just like anything UFC in general, please smash that like button, share this video with whomever you want, and put it on any of your social media platforms. Please sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on these predictions, your predictions. future predictions and future fights that you want to see, like John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, UFC 279. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.